Okay, welcome to Monday morning. Got a couple of emails to go through, which is great, and then we'll have a look at what's around. Been asked to see what's going on this week. The biggest things this week, it's pretty quiet start to the week. We have ECB on Thursday though. We'll see if the Draghi is going to add more stimulus. Or what they do for the European economy, and then non-farm payrolls on Friday night, which may add some volatility. But the biggest thing is the ECB this week on Thursday night. So to start the day off, we're looking at this setup for the cable, the short, and it certainly technically fits everything. He's noted that we've got lower highs and lower lows, yes. Strong resistance off 163, absolutely. Bearish price action. I mean, what we're looking at, this bar here is fair enough. You may have looked at this, but it obviously finished as a low test bar, so he's waited to see the selling, and he's now looking at entering the market here, which is okay. We are below the moving averages, correct. There's no real resistance off the moving average. That's also correct. RSI convergence, yes. Trendline resistance. I suppose you've got these two touches, and we're finding the third, so that's fair enough. Hidden divergence, absolutely. We're getting all these higher highs, even though we're getting lower highs in price, so that's a good pickup. And he's noted that the the $1.60. 80 area is some support that could ruin the trade. You've lost sound, have you? Well, I'll keep going, and perhaps you can watch the recording. He's got a target down here, which is at 1.87 to his risk, which is good. So everything fits that. Personally, I think the cable should be getting stronger. Oh, sorry, not the cable, but the pound would be looking to get stronger. But against the greenback's obviously the strongest currency out there at the moment. And whilst there should be some strength in the sterling, I don't know if it's strong enough to run against the pound. So well, personally, I think the pound might be looking at some choppy froth ahead of it, but this technical setup should be okay. Will be interesting to see how that goes. So Seb, that's well presented, and it's a reasonable argument. You're risking 0.4%. That's all good. So you should walk away with just under 1% of the trade. You may have, if you had placed your stop earlier this morning, you may have gapped. As you can see, the market gapped this morning. It may have slipped you, but it's certainly come back, or it's trading around the levels that you're wanting now. And we can see there's still some momentum to the downside, so that's all good. Yep. Okay. Next one came in from Sunday. Looking at this one, Euro Yen. What's the high in the cycle? When price retests 38.04, also 61 around here. Can this be traded as a phase one, or is that high there? Waiting. No, look. I wouldn't be saying that I can't trade until we break that. I would suggest that we've now got this cycle above it. We've got both the euro and the yen are weak. Which do you believe is weaker? Well, yeah, that's a good call. Which is the weakest? It's hard to tell, but judging by the price action there, you'd have to say the yen. The yen itself had a bit of a pause in its run up, as we can see here, sort of stopped, and in that sort of buying of the yen, against a very strong greenback, you're seeing what's happening here. Yep, is that the pullback in the yen. So literally, we've had cycles underneath this our moving averages. You know, one cycle, two cycles, three cycle, four cycle. The fifth cycle made a higher high, so it's just here. We can see that higher high there. It then went to make a lower low, but not a lower low than this. So at this point, when we came back through this high here, you would say that the downtrend is broken, and we now should be looking at an uptrend. So we've now got this cycle above the moving average. We're getting higher highs above there, and if we get any buy signal around here, as you suggest, off this support level, or off the the 50 fib or the 61.8, if we're seeing the market turn at this point here, yes, you should be looking for buying opportunities. Okay, so that's a fair call. Euro yen, where are you? And we've got a little inside bar at the moment. If this makes a higher high, then you could potentially be looking at this tomorrow. But we need to see, after all this selling, we need to see more buying than just the one bar. If it makes a higher high, that's probably enough. If it's just an inside bar, not enough. So what we need to see is perhaps another buyer bar on Tuesday, looking for a trade on Wednesday. Does that make sense? Yep. Be aware that the ECB is out on Thursday, so you may want to just start off with a small amount of risk in case the ECB does add stimulus, and that would make this the weaker pair than the yen, because the yen hasn't yet done that, even though it is considerably weak. Okay, but that's a good question. Yeah, I like the fact that you're getting ready to set that trade up well in advance, which is good. This one came in last Thursday. Trend continuation long. Durable goods, higher highs, came back to this support level. Above the moving averages, you're finding support off this level here. You had a good run on this. I'm not sure if you got out up here or where you're out. I know you were trailing your stop, so what's your email say? One new trade for the knock was knocked out of this trade earlier after a good run. Chance to get back in. There's no news in Norway. Chart is attached. Got stopped out of the Euro CAD 2 days ago, just better than break even. Cool. This is on Thursday. Pound is short off the 20. Aussie, Kiwi and Singapore all showing divergence. Yeah, stay away from them. Euro, Aussie long shaping up. Okay, so looking at this one on Thursday, to me, you're coming off what you've identified. It's coming off the 50, so that's reasonable, but to me it seems like it's had quite a bit of a run. And then we get this overextended bar, which means our stop's going to be quite large. And therefore, your risk-reward ratio, what are you going to get in terms of two or more? Is it going to get up here? Your momentum's already in the 60s. It possibly could, but having had such a good run the first time, it's there's a potential that it may not as well, even though the US dollar is quite strong. So let's see how you went in terms of that. What's that performed like so far? Well, you would have got into the trade. Obviously, you're sitting reasonably well. If this bar is a buyer bar, you'd certainly be pulling your stop up quite tight with the strong buying here. Getting it in under the two consecutive bar rule, at least sort of looking at getting your stop to break even around this area here. So you're taking the risk off the table. That's good. Euro CAD, you also mentioned you got taken out of and waiting for re-entry. Yeah, taken out here at break even. There was a potential re-entry underneath this bar. If you're taking it off the sort of 20 EMA, obviously we've now got a reversal bar on Friday, and our stop should be above that if you did take this. Pound we've looked at. The Kiwi, there's no divergence, it's just bearish. There is divergence, but there's no sign of buying. Same with the Aussie, there is divergence, but there's just no sign of buying. Same with the Euro, there is divergence here, but there's no sign of buying. So you just until you see that, continue to trade the cycles in the shorter time frame. Yep. Kiwi yen, you mentioned that you would like to be in, but reluctant to be long the Kiwi. Yeah, well, that's a pretty good call. After that bar there, this is not a ring low yet, and that's why you wait for this bar to finish. It did make a higher high, but obviously then made a lower low, so you're not going in above this bar in that cycle above it. You're waiting for this bar to finish, and obviously thankful in waiting for that bar to finish, because had you been in trying to get in above this bar, you would have been in and out in the same day. So that's why we need to wait for see a little bit more buying, as I suggested earlier in the which pair, I can't remember which pair now. So that's pretty good, mate. I like the way you work. This one came in also on Thursday. This is the Aussie Kiwi long. I'm not sure what this is. What do you suggest? See the attached trade, 2-to-1 reward or risk, 0.5% risk on the account for 1% gain. Took a while to get the first trade on, but I did not rush. Good. It hit the take profit this afternoon, but if it had been real money, I would have left it open. Yes, so you got in at 98.70. Okay, so that green line there. Yeah. Your stop was 98.58. Not sure why your stop was there. It certainly hit your target. This fib to me looks like it's back to front. I don't know why you've drawn it like that. You should be drawing it from here. It's not back to front. You've just drawn it across that way, which to me is odd. Right, so I'll show you what I mean. So you've drawn your fib. You've drawn your fib like this. You started there and you've drawn it down basically like that. Yeah. Going left to right effectively. You should always draw your fib from right to left. So if you should be having it like this. Yeah. Or potentially you go, well, this is the first close above the 50. And so we can see that it's moved there. Having gone in here, there's a lot of guys took this last week when we were in the course. We highlighted this on Thursday. You're looking at 70 pips, so 140 pip target minimum you would have got had you left the door open. Obviously, in terms of looking at your potential 1.618 as your target up here, $1.15. Had you looked at it like that, you would have been risking sort of 80 pips with a 500 pip target. Um, strong move as the Kiwi got weaker on the late last week, and yeah, so you were in at, what did you get, 109.70? I'm not sure how you got in at that price. If you're going in above this bar, um, you would have been looking around 109.95 sort of area. Even this is only really one bar, so you might have waited for this one here and gone in above that, which is what the guys did. They're sort of going in at $1.10, which is a bit of a resistance. And had a 100 pip stop and looking at a 200 or 300 pip target in terms of risk reward. And had they gone the 200, they're sort of still waiting for that. Yeah, but yeah, certainly heading in the right direction. Unfortunately, I missed it and was waiting for the cyclicity on missed this run, waiting for the cyclicity to come back and test that line. And I'm sort of still waiting, but I'll be looking for a pullback to around the 50 here and trade this on the shorter time frame, because this looks to be quite strong. Yep. So looking around $1.11 as a potential entry sometime. Why the Kiwi dropped so quickly? Yeah, Wheeler, Graham Wheeler, who's the head of their central bank, came out and spoke last week. I think he was in Australia at the time. I'm not sure. No, maybe it was their Prime Minister who was in Australia. But Wheeler came out and said that the Kiwi's still overvalued where it's at. Not that he's intervening, he doesn't. But yeah, he said that the Kiwi's still overvalued. So interest rates are going to stay at 3.5 for some time. Maybe they'll lower it to, and the next move might be lower. So that's where that selling pressure came from. It wasn't a scheduled speech that I'm aware of. It's just he came out and obviously ruined the market. Okay, what else we're looking at? Again from last Thursday, dollar Sing is setting up for a phase 2. Phase 2 trading is pretty tricky, especially against the US greenback. I'm in that account. Okay, this is an income generator from last week, so I might just move that to break even. This is not my account, this is the house account. That's an income generator that looks like it's doing okay. You potentially look at that as a phase 2, and risk reward seemed okay, but obviously we didn't get an entry. The market's still going. Euro Aussie trading against a strong US dollar, and the dollar Sing should be left alone. Yeah, pretty much. Okay, Euro Aussie setting up for phase 1 again. Phase 1 as a new short. There's talk out there that they're going to raise rates because the housing market, thanks to the Chinese, is just going gangbusters here in Australia. And obviously that'd be bearish for this, as we're raising rates and the Europeans are looking to add stimulus and low rates. Yeah, you probably look for this to go short on that basis. I don't know if interest rates are going to be moved. I think Glenn Stevens doesn't knee-jerk, but he's also a bit slow, so I can't see them kind of raising rates in a hurry. So I'd see this as a bit choppy, and there's no real sort of clear indication as to the new direction for this pair. Question: Has the price pulled too far above the 50, and is this classed as a high in the cycle? Really, I shouldn't trade it because the Aussie is falling pretty fast, even if the second seller bar is confirmed today. Yeah, probably shouldn't be trading this. In terms of this being a now being above the 50, That's not, to me, that's not a huge issue. It's finding resistance on the 200. The biggest issue is that it's broken this high here. Hasn't broken this one, but if we're looking in terms of cyclicity, you can't really say that we're getting higher highs and higher lows. You might look at the weekly and say, well, we've had a cycle underneath it, and maybe we're heading back shorter. That's okay, but there's no confirmation there yet on the weekly. But in the daily, once it got through here, late last week, you're not getting lower highs anymore. That's the first sign that this downtrend is under threat. It could re-engage in a new downtrend, absolutely. But if it sort of gives you a cycle above the 50 EMA here, and then we're now getting higher highs and higher lows, you're potentially looking at a long trend. But there's quite a large resistance here around the 45.70 level. As we can see, it's also the 200 EMA, and it's just a little too choppy for mine. I'd rather sort of stay away from it at this point. Yeah. Okay. Someone sent me this video. I haven't watched it, but you could potentially 52 minutes. Oh, this guy. Yeah. Um, yeah, and then got busted. Be interesting, but you guys can watch that in your own time. It's called To Catch a Trader. If you go onto YouTube and do a search, you'll find it. It could be just a point of interest to watch. But thanks, Paul, for sharing. And right, so just quickly to go through all the crosses to see what's available this week. Let's have a look. Okay, pound Aussie. This one I'd like to be long. In terms of the daily time frame, it's a bit out there. There's a bit of divergence, and we might, as the Aussie does a phase two, we might get some cyclicity and a pullback. Maybe retest this resistance level, but I'd certainly prefer to be long this than short it. And there might be, you might get some sort of run on the shorter time frame. Maybe look to trade that as a phase one to participate in that, because the daily is a bit too far out to be trading long from here, but it's not yet ready to short either. So I'll be looking at the hourly on that, maybe in here, and could be some opportunity at the top of this bar. Looking at 60 pip bricks for 120 pip, 200 pip run. As I said, there's not much news out in terms of either pair, either the cable or the Aussie this week. But I'd certainly prefer to be long this, as QnA came out last week saying that we're closer to raising rates than most people think. So in that sense, I'd certainly want to be trading for the long side on this one. Yep. Euro Aussie was sort of covered. Aussie Sing, similar to the Aussie US, there is divergence, but a little day of buying doesn't. You need to see a bit more buying there. Quite a support level across here. Potential phase two trading in that if you want to trade phase two. If that's still in your repertoire, then there's an potential opportunity there. It's quite a decent support level down here that the market's sort of bounced off again. But yeah, you need to wait to see a little more buy in the market. This low test bar is an indication, but I'd want to see another day of buying before I've committed to that. Aussie Kiwi we've covered. It'd be good to be long. Aussie Yen. No. back underneath that support line, and yeah, I'm not seeing anything there. Aussie Swiss is Aussie Euro upside down. Yes, it's on support. There is resistance, just a bit choppy for my mind. Aussie CAD, well, there's clear divergence. A little higher high would be good. However, I see the loonie being stronger than the CAD than the Aussie. They're both commodity currencies, yes. The loonie does have exposure to China, yes, but it has a bigger exposure to the US. So I'd prefer to be kind of short this than long it, and be looking for some sort of pullback up here into the 99 area for a potential new phase one short. However, right now, if we get another day of buying here, you might suggest that there's a potential phase two trade in that, because there's clear divergence there. We just need to see the buying price action. Aussie, yeah, not interested. Have been trading the cycles on this on the 1 hour. Each time it comes back to a support level, what was resistance? So that's across there. What was resistance? It was that one there, 88.65. Every time it comes sort of back to one of those levels and tests them, is your opportunity. It sort of did it on Friday. There's a minor one across here, but maybe later this afternoon we might get a little pullback to there. We're still getting lower highs and lower lows, and I'd be looking at trying to short it that way. The daily, yeah, it's getting oversold, and yes, there is divergence if it turns, but look at the selling in the last 2 days. There's no sort of indication that it's turning just yet. Cable, well, against the Sing, it's similar to the against the US. There's no, you've got a cycle underneath it. You'd be looking for shorting opportunities, but in this bar, there's nothing there. Don't know if I'd want to short it. You want to short this one if you can. There's no divergence, and again, there's clear selling pressure. The pound is, as I said, looking to raise rates, and the Europeans are looking to sell rates. We'll prefer to trade from a position of strength, which is around here, as it comes back to retest that. Not looking to buy this by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, no clear cyclicity there. It's just tracking along the 50. In this sense, you might look at trading it as a sort of breakout of a flag sort of thing, or a consolidation area, and say, well, when it breaks out of that, my stop's going to be up here, and trade at that sense in the hourly. But the daily is certainly looking overdone. But yeah, I prefer to trade it short on the daily from up here. Now, there might be something in the hourly there. Yep. Against the Kiwi, you've got to buy it, like the Aussie. It is very choppy, as you can see, and that's hard to trade. This is 600 pips wide though. We're now well above that 2 area. Across here, so many horizontals on this, it's hard to say, but that's where you're probably looking at a target of 2.1. Can you get in on the daily? Well, it is overbought, but these crosses can run a lot further than you expect. So it got oversold at this point in time on the momentum, and it's still had 500 pip drop. So it's just a matter of seeing if there's an opportunity in the shorter thing, and going with it. Nothing really there, but certainly over the next couple of weeks and months, I'd prefer to be long this pair than short it. Yep. And same with this one. Prefer to be long this pair than short it. Would want to see it come back and test a support level of some sort to get that opportunity. And however, we may not find that. Momentum's back down, sort of in an area where you could potentially get long. A little bit of selling here, which would indicate there's no preparedness yet. Perhaps traded on the 4 hour though. You know, might get that little cycle looking like that, saying, okay, well, it's what is there? 77.20 area. What is that? Is that a reasonable level of support? No, the 382 was support. Resistance at 38. Is this? You'd say that's quite a reasonable level. 77. Yeah. Trade that. Certainly be doing that and saying, okay, well, 50 fibs also giving us some support. Look at on that, but again, I'd prefer to be. I'd like being along the pound. I think that's a great idea. And against the yen is also a good idea. Against the CAD, probably not so much. You know, I expect this to be again continue to chop around, try to break out of this range. It's now back in it. And whilst it's getting towards the top side, I expect this to be choppy because I'm bullish the loonie as well as being bullish the cable. Pound Swiss is the euro pound upside down. We've covered that. Pound Aussie, kind of covered this. Would like to be long it. Just trying to find an opportunity. Shit, that's running already. Yeah. What's the Aussie? The Aussie must be getting pretty strong. And the pound, we've also already covered. What's in the others section? We've got Kiwi Swiss. Yeah, in the middle of nowhere, not trading that. Like to be short that, but can't find an opportunity just yet. Potential phase 2 trade if this is a strong buyer bar. Messy, leave it alone. And this one, Euro CAD, yeah. Sorry about the dogs, guys. Just a sec. Sorry about that. Postman. Dogs don't like postman. Euro CAD, or CAD Swiss, which is the same thing. Like to be short Euro and long CAD. I think that's a great trade. What's happening here though is a bit of choppiness, which is doesn't make it all that clear to find an entry. So it's a little tricky. I prefer to see a bit of a pullback. We are still making higher highs here and higher lows. So certainly, some people might look at it being in a channel, but I think this is one for the ages, and it's just finding opportunities. Nothing there yet, but if I was you, I'd keep an eye on that one. And the same here, yeah. Certainly has had a good run up as the loonie was getting weaker, but it's been getting stronger for the last 6 months and should be continuing to do so. Bit of support here, but I don't expect that to hold. You know, it's around here that I'd be, you know, if it was down here, I'd be around $1.30 sort of area. That's when I'd start to go, well, perhaps this is over, but that's, you know, over 1,000 pips away yet. Euro Aussie we've covered. Euro Swiss you don't trade unless you're trading it long. Euro Yen we've covered a bit. We need to see that little swing here, which we're waiting for. Euro Kiwi. Well, it's one of the weaker ones, so the Kiwi's obviously weaker here than the Euro. Don't expect that to maintain its sort of run. I'd expect it to sort of pull up around here somewhere, $1.62. And then possibly chop about, a bit like this crap back here. Euro knock, no thank you. No thanks. There might be something in that, because it's coming off a reasonable support level. We can see that. There might be something in there in trading that one longer. The tricky is with the ECB at this week, you need to be probably not using all your capital on it. Well, that's in the middle of the range. Leave that well alone. Potential new phase one starting here. We've got lower highs, lower lows. You know, the market's cycling, being short the euros. There's something. There could be something in that. Can't buy it, can't sell it. Stay away from it. And the ruble. You'd be a brave man to trade that one off that. But you certainly wouldn't want to be buying rubles, so you wouldn't want to be selling this. You'd be looking for buying opportunities. It's just that's just annoying in terms of you know, you've got 120 pip stop. Yep. Yen crosses. We do have divergence, but you'd be a brave man to sell it. There's no selling indication there. It was a little one here, but this is a low test bar, so really there was no opportunity to short it, and you'd be crazy to be looking to buy it. That one, I know some of you guys are trading this as a phase two. I can see that in the book. You had two consecutive seller bars, so your stop should be here at, or underneath that bar there, which was your entry. So you should be at break even above the high of this bar. And your target should be here on the 50 at 92.26, which is reasonable because it's about that high there. So your risk is off the table, and you just keep squeezing the target. Swiss yen, similar to the euro yen, it'd be nice to see some buying here and getting an opportunity to trade that one long. Kiwi yen, oh man. Yeah, if you like a range trade, there's a potential range trade there. Oh, I'm not going to range trade, but yeah. Pound yen we've covered, Aussie yen we've covered, Mexican yen, well, be waiting for the pullback to the EMA for phase one long. Same here, like the euro yen and the Swiss yen, be waiting for getting good cyclicity above the 50 EMA and be looking for a turning point here, but there's no sign of it yet, so keep an eye on that one. Yes, there is some divergence, but there's only one 1 bar, 2 bars of selling up here, which is not enough to really, for me, to indicate. I mean, I wouldn't go underneath that because that's still a higher high, higher low. You can potentially go in underneath this, but I don't think you're going to get that opportunity. You are getting higher highs here. If this is your low and that's your high, you are getting higher highs here. So you could look at that. It's not something I'd trade though. Your spread on that would be quite wide, I would have thought. Yeah, what have you got? 13 pip spread, or 20 pip, or 10 pips now. And similar, we are getting higher highs and higher lows in the cyclicity. There is a potential there, but you're looking at, and this time, wow, that's not zero. That you're talking 66 to 83 is 17, 170 pip stop, or 170 pip spread. Yeah, so I'd leave that one well alone too. Hey, what are you doing? Thank you. US dollar. This is not my trade. This is the income generator. I'm on the house account at the moment. But let's start at this end. Gold found a bit of a. Not that you guys are trading this. I'm just doing this for interest sake because gold has found a bit of a bottom here. This area here around $1.12 is not far from the cost of production, which is guesstimated between between $11.50 and $12. So there's a bit of a bottom here. There's no real reason to own gold, but it's certainly showing some divergence there. So the dollar lira, yeah, you're still in phase one, no divergence. Be hard to buy it, hard to sell it. Check, same, hard to buy it, hard to sell it. There might be cyclicity on the shorter time frame. It's getting up there, but it's not yet oversold. We can. It's not something I'd look in the on the daily, but you could potentially look on the hourly. Although that would suggest no, thank you very much. Dollar sec, similar. You're at the end of phase one, but there's no. I wouldn't be, even if you get a phase two setup, such as something on like the Kiwi or the pound or the euro. I wouldn't be trading it. I'd prefer to be going with the US dollar rather than against it. Okay, so dollar ruble. So that means you're not going to get a phase two that's going to pay you any money. You'd be looking for the phase ones, and across here, when the market stops going in a trend, you look down the time frames. Polish zloty, yeah, still going. NOK is still going. Mexican, yeah, it's still going. They're all in the mid to, or what you would consider the end of phase one, but you're not going to be, certainly not looking at trying to trade against it, and trading with it means where's your risk reward ratio. So that's why you look down the time frames and potentially participate in it. This one, however, you could argue that you've got a triple bottom across here. Yep. And perhaps we've got the buying sentiment now to say, well, tomorrow morning we could look at trading this. You've got around, even if you went under there, 250 pip, 260 pip sort of stop, which means you're looking at 500 as a target. And even if you went across all these lows here, that's your target in this area here. Dollar rand, like them all, still running. Dollar Sing, the income generator is going okay. Dollar CAD, there's some resistance around here at 12.20, still going, and yeah, still got plenty of upside, no divergence there. So that should still be going. Shorting the yuan? No, look, there's this area here, 613, 615. You know, you've got to understand that the yuan is pegged to the US dollar, and they change that peg, pretty much fluctuate it daily, the Chinese government. But there's certainly a support resistance zone around here that you can see. Now that it's above that, I would not be looking for selling opportunities. No, I'd be looking for buying opportunities. Get your stop underneath this support area, and you could either target 2 times your risk, which is your risk is that support area, and potentially, or go for a bit more. Yep. Last one, dollar Swiss, like the euro. You're not going to buy that, and you certainly can't sell it. Okay. So the biggest things this week to me is ECB. There are some European crosses that are setting up, but ECB on Thursday night is the biggest one that you need to be worried about or concerned about. Some holidays on Friday, but then we've got non-farm payrolls Friday night. And then this weekend is daylight savings changes here in Australia. So obviously the bar, it's already changed in New Zealand. Obviously the bar will, and the day bar will be different time in the morning. It'll be 8 o'clock in the morning, not 7 o'clock. Okay. Alright guys. I'm doing a bit of travelling this week, so I won't be back online for the webinars until Friday. I will have email access, so if you need me, shoot me an email. Otherwise, happy hunting for trades. Let the market come to you. Don't go pushing trades that don't exist. Be patient and wait for the market to come to you. If you miss things like I did on the Aussie Kiwi last week, then just be patient and wait for it to come back to you, as I am on this one, waiting for it to come back for potential trade. Sometimes it doesn't. I was hoping it would come back to this support area. It didn't, and this one didn't even come back into the 50 before it ran again. And so be it. I'm not in it. I'm not in the trade, but that's okay. We can be patiently waiting for something like this that might now... Did my internet just catch up, or was there just a sudden shift? It must have been my internet just caught up. Yeah, so it's just waiting for a potential trade, being patient, waiting for the market to come to you. Okay. Alright guys, thank you for today. I'll talk to you from Bali on Friday morning. You guys be safe.